Hey there, welcome to episode 29 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. Today is Friday, September 8th, 2023. I am the managing director and your solo host for today of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation and of the Let's Innovate for Vegas podcast. Today, the subject and the title, I have it written right here, Hacktoberfest 2023 and ISAC and more. Why did I have to write that down? Because it's so many things. Hacktoberfest 2023. I'm saying it quickly. Let me say it slowly for you. Hacktoberfest. It is a great time for people who are wondering about open source projects to contribute to one. So October 2023 is happening in October. Coincidentally, when the International Space Apps Challenge, ISAC, it's NASA. They got to abbreviate it. Come on. ISAC 2023 is occurring on October 7th and 8th. There's Congressional App Challenge. There's more. So let's get into it. First thing, we got that Hacktoberfest. So last year we had just started. We incorporated our nonprofit in June of 2022. We got our determination from the IRS as a public charity in October 2023. Blah, blah, blah. And so when people said, hey, are we participating in Hacktoberfest? It was like, oh, we have no projects sorted out. We have no people. It was a shambles. And so what has changed this year? Well, we have fewer people working on things. But seriously, we do have an interesting opportunity this year. Let me explain. So we have several projects. We have several projects in different states of readiness for people to contribute to. That will be addressed through September. We have an Agile for Volunteers approach, which means ideally our projects are specified, spec'd, if you will, by volunteers, civic volunteers, collaborating. Not all coders, right? Sometimes your customer, the user, non-technical people, creators, sometimes they should be involved as well, and that is the intent. So our Hacktoberfest will be open generally to people who want to add notions to our projects, whether it's some insights on user stories or maybe some actual content, some words, some visuals, some pictures, some images, videos, or maybe some code. Yeah, we'll see. Some test code even, some testing, some QA, some process notions. Pretty much, given the level of participation we've had locally, we are already opening up our welcome doors, our welcome mat. The welcome mat is out. That's how you say it. To anyone in the world who wants to collaborate. Innovating for Vegas means exposing your work to 40 million tourists or visitors every year. So that's one of the things we bring to the table, and we'd love it if people who participate with full attribution, of course, can be a part of this level of engagement with normal people coming and going in large numbers. Vegas is always welcome to visitors. They themselves should be welcome to try out open source projects. We have many projects. I'll touch on a couple of them here during the show, but we basically want to introduce what we're working on to others. And one of the things that we have talked about in the last 5 days is the possibility of having other former Code for America brigades participate across the borders, if you will, reaching out to other. And we were Code for Vegas was a brigade of sorts before there was brigades. When we reformed Code for Vegas, we were not a brigade, and we have officially, I should stick this in here, we have officially, as of today, I think, the effective date on the paperwork is today. I don't think it's been recorded, but the effective date of our name change is today, September 8th. And so we are no longer to be known administratively as Code for Vegas Foundation. We will be Innovate for Vegas Foundation, and then we'll update all of our financial paperwork, our fintech, our EIN, same EIN, different name. It's a one-word change from code to innovate, which most people should consider doing that. Not everything is code. So today, officially, Innovate for Vegas. So we would love if former brigades from around the country, now that Code for America has completely and totally solidified their friendship and goodwill with everyone. If former brigades who feel as though they've been left out, who are feeling or who may have felt left out or abandoned, to consider pulling together the volunteers who want to contribute to projects, continue working on your projects, reach out to other brigades directly. Casting a net for Hacktoberfest is good, that's fine. But reach out directly to other brigades and say, hey, we have these projects. And perhaps that brigade or other brigades will say, oh, we have these projects. And you can cross-pollinate a little bit. And I'm thinking only an apropos time to get this ball rolling is when the ball is rolling. So the notion has been around for, I think it's 10 years. There's a Hacktoberfest website. I've put the link in the show notes, which you never read anyway, but that's okay. Hacktoberfest, just like it sounds. Hacktoberfest. Why did wait, I did not put it in. I didn't put it in the notes. Hacktoberfest. If you search for Hacktoberfest, I think it's .org. I'm dumb. I put the other links in there, but that one I was like, oh, I'll get to that one. Sorry. Hacktoberfest. So check it out. Consider it. And if you are part of a brigade or if you're part of what you thought would be our brigade, but then you never showed up, think about joining again during Hacktoberfest. Do a pull request or two. Could be for our projects, could be for other projects in other former brigades or other organizations or groups. I mean, if you want to pull into the Linux kernel, great. If you want to pull into some docs on a tiny project in a small town somewhere, also great. It's important to begin the journey. So yeah, I'm hoping Hacktoberfest this year that we will participate and that it will lead to more cross collaboration and promotion. And of course, as I've suggested, we are opening our doors to general all Hack Anytime Fest. Anyone can contribute to our projects, pull requests especially, and we hope that people will, not just randomly, don't give me a headache, but we would like to see some of our projects be interesting, and maybe some other projects from other places be interesting, and that we can collaborate across the borders, across the boundaries of time and space, around the world, through the planets, and actually help each other and learn from each other, elevate each other, and ultimately bring the value of open source projects and civic volunteer developments to people. And if you are in your town and I'm in my town, we may have exposure to some number of people, but people who visit Las Vegas, and it is about 40 million, give or take, based on the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority research tab. So on that website, LVC, Lima Victor Charlie Victor Alpha.org, LVCVA. I think it's the research tab will publish, weekly, is it weekly data based on last year, this year, cumulative monthly data, all that, demographics, point of origin, all that. So we know how many people are visiting, and it's something like 40 million now. It's always give or take. There's some error bars on that number, but 40 million people coming and going for conventions, for sporting events, for entertainment, for gaming, for shows. You never know. And if we can just get like 1%, 5% of those people to use tools that we're developing, which are aimed at people visiting a place, right? How do you figure out how to get around on the bus? And believe it or not, when people come to Vegas, they're not always thrilled to pay $1 million for a taxi or $2 million for an Uber. So occasionally, and more so than you would think, they're looking to take the awful and horrible Regional Transit Commission public transit vehicles, which will pick you up at the curb on both of our lovely LAS terminals and drop you off where you least expect it. They might be on time, probably not. And the software you will use to find them is broken and horrible. But we can change that. You can change that too. So we'd like to create open transit or get it moving, no pun, so that we can actually improve the rider experience, which has been left to chance because the company that drives that piece of software in Montreal, Canada, which I'm sure is a lovely place, cares about getting all users, not any user. In other words, they don't really care what I think. They only care that they have the numbers. And if you're wondering if I've ever talked to the people at Transit App in public transit webinars, if you're wondering if that's true, wonder no more. It is true. And I speak from experience. I don't want to deal with them. I've spoken to enough people who have trouble with their application here in the greater Vegas area. People with vision impairments, people with ambulatory impairments, people who need to know if that bus is going to be there when it's 115 degrees out, so they don't roll over to a bus stop and sit for 3 hours waiting when they could have sat home and waited for 2. These are human factor problems that can be addressed by people who care enough to volunteer. Civic volunteerism doesn't bring in the big dollars as you would think. So sometimes it's just because you want to make things better for people, yourself, your family, your friends. People don't even know. And like I said, I've talked to enough people here. So our open transit project has always been important to me because I'm an avid user of our public transit. I picked up that habit in my world travels for Intel when I was going to hackathons and whatnot. So I'm a big fan. I think our tools should be better. And not only should they be better, they should be better yet still again later because we always listen to our users. We don't blow them off. I'm still talking to you, Transit App. So our regional transit commission here is woefully understaffed, undercapable, and needs help. They have expressed interest in collaboration. Now we have to actually do it. And even if they don't take an interest, we can still do it and build better software. So this is not about open transit, but that is one of the projects we have. So if you're interested in public transit in your city, probably stuff you run into that could be improved is something that we could run into and improve, or we have that did not come out right. Common experiences are probably addressable, and we could work together to do that. We don't all have to work in isolation. Silos be gone. The ISAC update. Our sign-up numbers in Vegas suddenly took a stop. They didn't take a hit so much, but they stopped. They up until August 30th, we were adding 1 or 2 people a day. We were slow to get started. Tristan Hayes at CCSD was good enough to proactively engage the teacher universe here in Clark County in Nevada, and that led to a nice bump. And we went from 2 to 20 in 7 days, and then we went to 22. And so on September 1st, there was a giant system problem on the NASA side. The confirmation emailer stopped sending out confirmation emails. So people who signed up did not receive a confirmation email, did not complete their registration on the NASA website, and so they were in limbo. And even if they have completed their registration, which I tested it yesterday, Thursday, so today's Friday. So it was fixed on Tuesday, the 5th. I tested it on Thursday, the 8th, 7th of September. And then I discovered another little nuance, which is you may not have been added to Las Vegas. And it doesn't really tell you. It's not 100% crystal clear. No way you can mistake it. It doesn't tell you which local event you're a part of. So you may be part of the universal event. Maybe you're not a part of any event. So you may have signed up, but our roster stopped growing on 30 August. And this is a concern. We have no insight. We have no control. We can't see any logs, nothing. So we're sort of left to chance. I'll just leave it at that. But we are having a hackathon boot camp on the 23rd and 24th of September. As it happens, team formation, so people who have signed up, and hopefully they know they've signed up on the NASA website, which is in the notes. The link is in the notes. I've cut out the part where I screwed this up, so let me try it again. Space Apps Challenge, one word, spaceappschallenge.org/2023/locations, plural, /LAS-VEGAS-NV. So that's spaceappschallenge.org/2023/LAS-VEGAS-NV, Las Vegas, NV. If you get to the locations tab and you mistyped anything else, you can go to the map. There's an entire global map, and you can see the scope and grandeur of this project, the largest hackathon in the world. And you'll be able to pick Las Vegas on the map, or you can pick any other city if you like. You can see that Mountain View, California, sort of the geographical center of Silicon Valley, has probably over 90 people by now. In 2022, they had about 150 people signed up. You can venture over to Cairo and see that they're probably at 900 by now. It's ridiculous. In a good way. I'm not disparaging them in the slightest. You'll see Hyderabad in India has something probably approaching 300 by now. They were up over 250 last time I looked. And I'm checking these numbers just to get a feel for engagement. You know, the more people who sign up, the better, although it is about showing up. And that is where Las Vegas will have to prove itself. The last time Las Vegas had an International Space Apps Challenge event was only 2 years ago, 2021. 28 people signed up. 12 people participated and submitted projects at the end. I would like to see all of those numbers go up. Why? Because our culture of innovation will only benefit by having more people with more ideas getting out and trying them. That's how it happens. So the 19th of September, we'll do team formation. And this is on the NASA website. You register who's on what team. Everything can be changed up to the last minute, so it's not like a final decision. But it is part of the process for judging and the prizes and whatnot. So we got to have all that sorted out. So the 23rd and 24th of September, we have a boot camp. So if you've never participated in a 38-hour, 59-minute, start to finish hackathon, you might want to check it out. We will do it hybrid. We're having our actual hackathon on the 7th and 8th of October, also hybrid. So you can sit home, you can work with your teammates. If you don't have a team, you can form a team and then get started. We will tackle challenges from previous years since they are fully documented. NASA is holding up on releasing resources for the challenges this year until the day of so that you're not starting work early. So I'm okay with that. That's fair. But we can have our hackathon with previous year's challenges, and those challenges have already been published. We do have a Discord server. If you go to our website, if you go to our NASA event page, which I read the URL previously, if you go to our website, Innovate for Vegas, one word, innovateforvegas.org, right there at the top, Discord server link. If you go to our Discord server, there's no magic. You're welcome to join. There's a space-apps-challenge channel. You can jump in there and see where things are. I've posted links to the previous year's challenges, to the event page, to various other useful bits of information. So jump in, tell us you're participating so we can interact, because the NASA site does not always share email addresses with us. So hopefully we'll hear from you and you will be included. And I will say that's a nice lead into this next thing, because this is important. The Congressional App Challenge, with no S. Congressional App, singular. Space Apps, plural. Congressional App, singular. Challenge. That was annoying, and I'll tell you why in a moment. The signups are active now. If you are in Nevada, I believe all of our Congress people are, I guess sponsoring is the word, or whichever the case, whatever they call it. It is enabled for all of the districts of congressional representation. The student must be attending a school in one of those districts, so you're good if you're in Nevada. And I think it's teams of up to 4. We'll have to check that, but that link I definitely have in the notes. It is literally all one word: Congressional App Challenge.us. Congressional App Challenge.us. If you can't spell Congressional App Challenge, you can see it in our show notes. You're good. So the signups are active now. The project deadline is November 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. That's DC time. The best time to start is now. If you have not already signed up but you want to, well, what are you listening to this podcast for? You should go sign up. If you are not in high school, or I think it's high school, I might be high school and younger, I need to check the website again. But I'll get to why in a second. You should tell your friends. We, as a city, as a community, as an ecosystem, as a planet, are horrible at getting the word out about these things. Getting the word out to people about the International Space Apps Challenge in Las Vegas has been nearly impossible. If we were building a stadium, everyone would know about it. If we're having a hackathon where we enable our local innovators to take part in a global challenge, who cares, right? We get nothing. So it's been an uphill climb, to say the least. So we need organic outreach. Same with the Congressional App Challenge. hopefully a couple people know about it already. Ideally, people will share it. There needs to be more of an inclination here to share things with people when they find them. Not everything is a social media post. Sometimes you just tell your friend, "Hey, Congressional App Challenge. You want to try a project? You just do it." So it's critical that the innovation culture here recognize and celebrate innovators, though. And this is before, during, and after. That means you can't just go, "Oh, you didn't know about this?" And then someone else will say, "Oh, I wanted to be a part of that, and I didn't read the right website, apparently." So we have no channel to our innovators, and our educators do not have time or inclination, apparently. Right now, there's a lot of drama with CCEA and CCSD. It's not my party, so I'm not going to say anything about that. But I will say that I believe these distractions make it more difficult for the information to flow to students through academic channels. So we need to have other channels. We need to be able to have people. If you're in Las Vegas and you want to know which bar to go to, which show to go to, where to go gamble, where to go see a show, Penn and Teller, you know where they are. Well, I think they're on break right now, but they're taking down their picture on the Rio for some upgrades or something. They're still going to be there till 2 more years, I think, at least. But anyway, so you finding that stuff is relatively easy. I know I just read this. I didn't think I was going to mention Penn and Teller, but their contract is fine and all that. But you know where to find these people. You know where to go because we are geared for entertainment, gaming, tourism, conventions. We're all good. Connecting young people with innovation opportunities to further your job skills and career path, and just to whet your appetites for STEM or STEAM or what did I say? STEAM, science, humor, technology, education, art, math. Yeah, that's it. So we are really bad at that here. Like, I give us an F. I'm not kidding. And so for you to know about the International Space App Challenge and the Congressional App Challenge, and there are others, these are just the 2 that are active right now, like literally right now. It's September 8th, and you probably should already be working on these if you're interested. So we have a solution that we are proposing. First, MyMuni. It used to be called My Vegas, but it turns out we want to be inclusive. And just like Code for Vegas was confusing and led people who are not coders to think we were not including them, so you can innovate. You don't have to code, but you can code and innovate. Those are also allowed, but you can create and innovate, etc. So similarly, we don't want to be the My Vegas project when we can include all communities or municipalities. So MyMuni is the project. It's basically aiming to be a modern tool to take on, to not compete with necessarily, but to offer an alternative way of sharing information, whether it's news or otherwise, making maximal use of open data, of modern user interface and user experience tools. I believe one of the issues with our current dissemination schemes are that it's very human readable text oriented, just like print media. So if I'm going to publish a press release, I write it as though I'm writing a newspaper press release or a paper, and then it gets published on a website. And then what? If somebody writes a news article, a journalist or whoever, they write the traditional inverted pyramids format, the who, what, when, where, why, how, and then some backstory. And by the end of the article, they're just restating previous articles. Well, we have the technology, and this is print media style. This assumes that someone didn't read last week's episode of the newspaper, or they don't know what's going on. Well, that's fine, but we have the tools, we have the technology, we have the $6 million man or woman ready to go. All they have to do is use a timeline, right? I should be able to join a timeline at any point and see what's going on, and then scroll through the timeline and see what happened before and then before that. I shouldn't have to read, if I read 5 articles and 4 of them are only writing about the first one for like 80% of them, right? They're always just filling in backstory. Then before you know it, you lose interest or you're wasting time. You also lose reference if you only know the headline of the latest article or the original article. How about that? I only know that something happened a month ago. Where do I go to find out what's the state of affairs with that? A missing person, a fire, a murder mystery, whatever it is. I don't mean to diminish any of those, by the way. I'm just, I'm listing out some examples. We have all of those here in Vegas. Good luck finding the current state given, something you read a month ago. Oh, I wonder whatever happened to that. Well, good luck. You should be able to follow a story. You find something interesting and you want to know what happens, and whether you may not look at any news for 60 days. And on the 61st day, you look and you see, oh, that thing you wanted to know about, here's the state of affairs. So these are all totally possible. This is the modern era. It's 2023, I think, last time I checked. So the My Muni project will look to merge or build on top of, not really merge, but build on top of our Smart Social, our Open Data Capture, and possibly our vLocal platforms, and maybe some other stuff. So we're going to try to make it easier, for example, to reach out to our innovator community by providing coverage of innovators and entrepreneurs, right? Our current media only covers things that are exciting and sexy. Case in point, I reached out to the Review Journal after they wrote an article about the fantasy project known as the Las Vegas Spaceport. I said, hey, you covered the spaceport. Would you like to mention the NASA International Space Apps Challenge coming up October 7th, which at the time was in 2 months? The response was, this is interesting. We'll probably cover it closer to the event. And I said, I would like you to cover it now so that people know about it. Get the word out. Yesterday, I noticed that all of the local media in Las Vegas is covering a airplane race happening at the site of the fantasy project known as the Las Vegas Spaceport in October 2024, 1 year from now. Actually, 1 year from next month. So they will cover something exciting like an airplane race at the Las Vegas Spaceport. None of these things seem important, but they're happy to cover them in the news. But when you say, yes, young people in Las Vegas, young innovators, the future of our innovation culture, don't yet know that there is an opportunity to compete against their peers around the world in the largest hackathon in the world, can you mention it? Nah. It makes me laugh and cry at the same time. So My Muni project will start to get that ball rolling. Let's talk to people and share information in modern ways, and let us cover things that are not only interesting but also useful and important. And let's not play these games anymore. The Challenger project, though, is probably even more important. And it's the Challengers project. Yeah, that's my notes here. The Challengers project. Challengers. Why Challengers? So I mentioned earlier the Space Apps Challenge, and there's the Congressional App Challenge. So I was going to call it the App Challenger or App Challenge project, but it's app or apps or whatever. Challengers, though, if I said App Challenge, maybe a website, App Challenge, Apps Challenge, and I want it, Congressional or NASA or whatever, but not everything is an App Challenge. Not everything is a challenge. There's the Congressional Art Competition. But the people, the individuals who are taking on these challenges, whatever they are challengers. And the focus will be on the people who are participating, the local innovators who are thinking outside the box, who are reaching beyond their grasp, who have the time and inclination to spend their energies and their focus on these challenges. Almost certainly for prizes. So there is some bribery involved, but people who want to think outside their curriculum at their school, take a weekend, do some team building, learn how to work with others, collaborate, thinking outside that box, innovating, collaborating, coming up with something new, novel, neato, prizes, fame and fortune. This is how innovation culture is fomented. And if we aren't doing that, we need not be surprised when 10 years from now, we are exactly where we are today, which is not where we think we are. Does that make sense? It means that we should be spending the next 10 years getting to where we think we are now. And that means enabling innovation at every turn. That means stopping the news reporting on the airplane race in a year instead of reporting on a hackathon in a month. That's ridiculous. So the Challengers Project will hopefully put that up post-haste. And it will always be a work in progress, so it may not be perfect initially. But the idea will be to first start collecting the people that want to do these things so that we can reach them, so that we can keep them up to date. Those could be teachers, students. We want to have sponsors eventually. That's been a whole nother Sisyphean task, and it's not a good one. Nobody seems to care. We want to get sponsors on board. We want to get the participants. We want to get facilities, hosts. We want to get resources. If there's hardware for hardware hackathons, or if there's a challenge that requires the use of farmland or huge amounts of water, you never know. So we'd like to start coordinating these things, which we will. So Congressional App Challenge, I think, has fallen off the radar. We'll add that to the list. So there will be 2 challenges that are live right now. So spaceapps.challengers.vegas. They're not live yet. If you're listening to this on Friday or Saturday, don't go there yet. But we do have challengers.vegas. So if you think spaceapps.challengers.vegas, Congressional app.challengers.vegas, perhaps. Congressional art. There are other challenges. I would love to see Clark County have a smart city or perhaps a water conservation challenger. Will they? No, of course not. But Clark County did used to have some smart city hackathon stuff. That's historical. But anyway, so that's one of the plans. So the My Muni project is really about city scale, multiple topics, focusing on our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. Because guess what? We have plenty of news about the Strip and the Formula One paving and the stadium and the Sphere and crime and politics. Those are the same thing. And any number of things. Are we a livable city? Sometimes. Do we talk enough about our horrible public transit system? No. We spend time focusing on a grant for some sort of Charleston corridor transportation, which doesn't help 95% of the city and the buses that don't show up and are not on time and the angry bus drivers and so on. So there are tons of things about our smart city that could be smarter. One of them is connecting with people about our smart city and capturing data, more feedback from people that is not blathering on in a text post, but surveying and measuring and providing feedback. Like, hey, guess what? Here's how things are this month compared to last month. Making major use of open data and adding data to those open data sets is part of the challenge. And if we are truly a smart city, we can do all those things. And if we open that up to the world, then other smart cities can do the same and can help us do this here, and we can help them do that there. And when 40 million people come and visit and they find it easier to get around on the bus with a fully localized web application that they don't have to download and install, but which helps them and it works, and something hopefully better than GTFS, but GTFS is a baseline for real-time data for where the buses are. Connect with traffic data, connect with pedestrian data perhaps, local events, proper calendars, the list goes on, timelines. A lot of use of modern technology that is left to chance because our modern reporting schemes are based on paper. We can change that. We can make our smart city smarter, and we can make other smart cities smarter as well. We can all work together in doing it. And at the same time, we can celebrate our local innovators. And you don't even have to be local. You can be a V-local innovator. It means you might have Vegas in your heart or on the bottom of your shoe, perhaps. But you can participate in projects as though you are here, because we are a city, a destination city that welcomes people from around the world all the time. And I would like to see them welcome people whether they come here or not. That's a longer story for another day. I've done a show on the V-Local project, by the way, and you can look through where you found this podcast and you'll find it. V-Local. Virtual local, Vegas local, could be the same thing. Finally, like I said, the official entity name change was filed. The effective date, I believe I put today. I think I filed it, and I think I said Friday the 8th was the effective date. For some reason, the online filing really wanted me to put a date for an effective date in the future. I was like, all right, I'll just put Friday. Why not? So Friday the 8th, which is today, officially Innovate for Vegas Foundation. And we will update. We have to do our 990 filing with the IRS because we're a real company. Don't forget that. We're a real nonprofit corporation in the state of Nevada, nationally recognized and determined as a 501c3 public charity. Our mission is to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. Yes, I have that memorized. Call me crazy. So let's do that. Our monthly hackathon meetups, by the way, have been canceled. We're going to go virtual, and we're not going to have them regularly. Nobody was showing up, and it's amazing how expensive it is to travel to a monthly hackathon meetup and sit in an empty room all day. So the monthly hackathon meetups have gone away. For September, we've replaced it with the Hackathon Bootcamp, and then come October, and the 7th and 8th is a different day, so it's the International Space Apps Challenge Hackathon, and then there will be no October monthly Hackathon meetup, and we have stopped doing those. So ideally, we will work on projects remotely in small groups. There will be no need to collaborate in larger groups since, guess what? Nobody was anyway, so that's fine. I have spoken with other people around the country that perform civic volunteer project collaborations. Doing them virtually is fine. If you look at the history of the Linux kernel since 1991, it has also been developed remotely, virtually, since well before the pandemic. That's okay too. They meet up in person sometimes. We'll do the same. It would be great if people who come here for other events, like if you're coming here for CES or something, you could join the Innovate for Vegas Foundation at a coffee shop. We'll get a table for 4 and we'll have an empty chair. But yeah, consider smaller groups of people meeting up now and then synchronizing online with better tools. The tools exist. We just have to use them. And in order to participate in our ongoing civic volunteer projects, we will begin asking for experience contributing to open source or community projects. In other words, previously we had a large number of people who were in our GitHub organization, which is sort of the official source of our authoritative source of participation and membership, if you will. We're not a membership organization, so there's no dues or anything, but that's where people would be added to the organization, and they could create repositories and code on stuff and whatnot, except for that last part where they don't do anything. So now, as it turns out, not only does showing up at a monthly hackathon meeting and sitting in an empty room require a lot of time that goes out the window, but when people do pretend that they want to participate, they require a certain amount of time for onboarding. They ask questions, and usually it's me answering them. And they disappear, never to be heard from again. So I don't get that time back. So we have now instituted a little bit more stringent policy. We're not turning people away en masse, but you can't just show up and say, answer all of my questions, and then never return. So if you decide to take part in a challenge, if you are a challenger, great. That's a good start. If you have already been working on projects, that's wonderful. That's a good start. If you have your own projects that you're working on, if you have your own GitHub repo or GitLab, or you can, and it doesn't have to be code, by the way, I'm just using this as an example. If you have an art project, if you've done user interface design, if you've done user experience work on the app side or platform side, if you are a creator, if you are an artist, a graphic illustrator, a computer illustrator, if you know sign language, if you speak other languages, if you are familiar with QA testing, which is often not technical at all. It's really just being attentive and aware of state. So yeah, all these things are important to the projects we're doing, and it will elevate our communities if we do them and do them well. But we cannot have so much time being spent on people who have no intention of returning. So we're going to be far more elitist, which sounds horrible. We're going to be far more discerning when it comes to adding people to the organization to work on projects. And we're going to stick to the Agile for Volunteers approach, a 2-week commitment to accomplishing something, adding it to a particular project that you're working on, whether it's increasing the scope and grandeur of the specifications or picking an actual user story and implementing it. We already don't have a software stack, so when people ask me, they think I'm insane. They're like, what? What's your software stack? Whatever. We're not a software company. We're a volunteer organization. If you want to write some code, or if you want to build some user interface with Lisp and Figma, okay. But hopefully those are maintainable without having to spend money. In other words, if you develop with a commercial tool that you have to pay for, and you submit it to our project, and then you disappear, your project will probably die because other people may not want to pay for your tools. So we encourage the use of open source tools, PenPod instead of Figma, for example. We do have a completely free license for nonprofits for Canva. So I know I use that to make our thumbnail images and all that silliness, but those are not project works per se. Those are marketing. But SVG images with Inkscape, user interface design with PenPod, graphic design images with the GNU image manipulation program, GIMP. The list goes on. There are so many free tools out there that will enable people to participate before and after any one person does some work on any of the aspects of any project without having to go pay for a commercial license and so on. So we really do encourage use of non-commercial tools, open source, wherever possible, whether it's coding or not, coding or creating. And that allows more people to participate anywhere along the way. But other than that, all we ask is that you have done this before. So this is not a coding school. It's not a coding boot camp. It's not an art school. So come and learn how to do these things, but don't come and expect to learn how to do anything. That didn't come out right. Not a coding school, but you will learn how to work with others by working with others, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'll leave it there. This has already gotten pretty long, and it's not even that long. I've gone longer. What are we, about 45 minutes, give or take? If you're curious, I do post-processing. I do loudness normalization and silence truncation. That's about it. If there's anything egregious, I edit it like a chunk out, like if there's a noise or something drops or a phone ring or something like that. But this is pretty much it. So even when my voice is wonky like this, that's the way it is. It's the allergy season extended remix. And on that note, I will ask that you share, like, repost, click on, click off, throw out the window, catch it when you're outside, whatever one does with podcast links. People certainly don't share them like they do other things. You can post it on social media, I guess, if you want. That'd be great. It would be nice if more people would listen. I would like to have more guests on. I will see if we can get, if we have people participating at our boot camp, Hackathon boot camp on the 23rd and 24th. I'll see about getting some people on the show for the week after. The participation level in the boot camp will probably be a final determination for how we're going to pursue the actual hackathon. If 10 people show up, we'll have a lot less to do. There will be almost certainly no food, no drink. We can't get sponsors for 10 people. That's just not going to work. So if we have 100 people, that's very different. So we'll see. The clock is ticking. And as is the end time for this episode. So thanks for listening, as always. Thanks for supporting your local civic volunteer organization by participating and or telling a friend, a colleague, or a potential sponsor about the work we are trying to accomplish. Thank you.